We're in must-win territory tonight as the Leafs continue their road trip in Columbus. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Thank you for making us your daily listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network in North America. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. What's happening, Dave? Feel comfortable about a $5 wager on the Leafs tonight in Columbus or what?
Maybe just $5. Maybe only $5.
Just a sprinkle, a little $5 sprinkle. But hey, if you win, $300 in bonus bets. So yeah, we're definitely going to preview tonight's game. Maple Leafs back in action. They've been off for the last few nights, and we'll see what the Maple Leafs team looks like. Obviously, injuries continue to pile up. There are some slight updates, although we still don't have a very clear view of who's going to be suiting up in this game. The line rushes were out there for practice on Tuesday, so we'll go through all of that and obviously preview the matchup. But before we get into it, Dave, I saw a concerning chart that I saw on The Athletic today, or it was today or yesterday. The article was written by James Myrtle talking about the contract inefficiencies on the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is hilarious because I think in the offseason we looked at it and we're like, yeah, it seems like the Leafs have some pretty efficient contracts. Like there's not a whole lot of guys that you sit there and you say, wow, those are anchors. The Leafs need to move on from those. Couple, but not too many. Now you fast forward into this season, Dave, and what this article basically was telling us Myrtle compared the Leafs' performance in comparison to what their contract is using their net value of offensive and defensive rating, which The Athletic uses. I think that's Dom Luszczyszyn's model, offensive and defensive net ratings. And man, is it ever concerning how many players are not just underperforming, but severely underperforming based on their contract and the level of production that the team is getting from them.
Yeah, I mean that's the big one, and that's always kind of been the gripe with Leafs Nation is, you know, you signed a lot of big ticket contracts. You took on, now that Mitch Marner's gone, you took on some, you know, you got a chance to maybe splurge in terms of adding players with bigger salaries that you maybe weren't able to do in the past, where you had to kind of nickel and dime your way through a roster. So I'm not surprised that we're about to see a chart that's probably going to show maybe a lot of red.
Lots of red. So I'll pull it up here on YouTube so you can see exactly what the chart looks like, and we'll kind of dictate it for those who are listening wherever you get your podcasts. But whoops, where happened? There it is. So I think I can probably zoom in a little bit more here, but you can't really see the player. But anyways, so pretty much the Leafs have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8 players, and goalies are not part of this. So 8 players who are either performing to or above their contractual expectation based off of their net rating, which is their offensive and defensive rating. And it's combined and you get your overall net rating. So as of now, the player who obviously is outperforming his contract the most, you would obviously agree, is John Tavares, which I think everybody would agree is so. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, your top performing defenseman. But Oliver Ekman-Larsson, as you can see here for those who are watching it, the only defenseman in the green, the only blue liner in the green who's performing to or above their contractual expectations. And that is where the problem lies. We talked a lot about it yesterday, Dave, but when you're actually looking at the numbers, I mean, Brandon Carlo is performing $5.5 million below his expectation. That's just incredible to think. A player who's they're leaning on to be a top 4 guy to be performing that lowly. Simon Benoit minus 4.7 million compared to his market value and what he's actually being paid. Morgan Rielly, $2 million less than what he's actually being paid. So it's just another staggering stat to look at. Ultimately, another staggering thing that you see here, specifically with the blue line, and it just again goes to illustrate how poor these guys have actually been.
Yeah, I know. Like the blue line is obviously the staggering one, but it paints a kind of the picture you're kind of expecting when you look at the performances, right?
Right.
Like every player that I think every single player I brought up yesterday in the 5 players that need to step up are all in the red.
Yes. Yeah, which makes sense.
Right. So I didn't just pull like again, the numbers show what the eye tests are showing too. Right.
Right.
But like, how does Philip Myers have a minus $13.1 million market value?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that part there doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me either. That's a lot of money.
But
That's
his defensive rating is the worst among all defensemen. His is the worst. Then it's Morgan Rielly. Like, tracks pretty accurately, I'll say.
Yeah. And yesterday, a couple people in the comments when we were talking about Morgan Rielly, who would trade for him, like at this point in his career. And ultimately, that's a big reason why. He's a defensive liability. And if you're a good team, you don't really want a defensive liability on your team. Yes, he can push the puck a little bit and he can put some offense. The assists have been there, playmaking. But when you're a liability in your own end, sometimes, honestly, it's not worth it. And the Maple Leafs are figuring that out right now when it comes to Morgan Rielly. Now, if he was, paid as much as Philip Myers, you could live with it a little more. But the guy's paid $7.5 million, and according to his net rating, he's performing at a $5.5 million rate. And that's because he's putting up a lot of points. But defensively, he's been among one of the worst defensemen in the NHL. Again, as we record this right now, no player in the NHL has been on the ice for more goals than Morgan Rielly this year. Like, that's pretty damning when it comes to that stat. But here's something else that bothers me too. The players that the Maple Leafs went out and traded for or brought in to replace, quote, Mitch Marner was Dakota Joshua, Nick Loa, and Matias Maccelli. Maccelli apparently is performing somewhat to expectation. I mean, $0.9 million more, I guess, is what his market value is compared to what he's making. So he's performing to expectation, apparently. But Dakota Joshua and Nick Loa both performing pretty significantly below expectation. And the one that really puzzles you is the fact that Nick Loa has a minus defensive rating. That's what he was brought in to do, is to help this team defensively and be a stalwart as the 3C and really try and help kind of shore up the middle and shore up a checking line as the pivot. And hasn't been able to do that to this point. And no offense either. He's got 1 goal so far this year. He's performing according to market value, according to his negative 2.5 net rating, performing at a minus $800 million player. Like, it's insane how poor Nick Loa has been, along with Joshua and a couple of these other players who were brought in to try and, improve this team this year. It's a big reason why they're in the hole they're in.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not just a defensive issue in terms of like the defense, the blue line, in terms of how this team is struggling defensively. You look at how many players are in the red in terms of defensive rating. Like, there's no player there's hardly any players that have a really good positive defensive rating. I think the best is
Matthews at
Auston Matthews?
1.1. Yeah, Matthews at 1.1.
1.1. Like that's not great. Like it's just not like that. It just speaks volumes as to how piss poor this team's defensive effort has been this year.
Yeah, he's the only player that has, well, I guess, him and Easton Cowan, who's only played half the games, the only forwards with a positive defensive rating of 1 or more, at least, for the Maple Leafs. And even Auston Matthews, only performing to an $11.5 million player. That's, again, not performing to expectation. And I would argue he's not even looking like that to this point in the year. And the injury's clearly an issue. But also, we're going to take a look at the lineups in just a moment for tonight's game. But how do you have a guy like Calle Jarnkrok and Max Domi be quite literally your worst two forwards on the team this year and somehow have both those guys penciled into your top 6 going into tonight's game? That's a question that I still can't really understand here when I look at this team. They're performing so poorly, both offensively and defensively. The numbers state it. The hard facts state it. Our eye tests are telling us that. Yet this team continues to give them opportunities in the top 6. Like, I get it. There's injuries, so they got to play someone. But, like, why not Bobby McMahon? Why not, Matthias Michelli or give Jacob Quillen an opportunity to come up and play some bigger minutes like that? Yeah, it's really something.
Yeah, like, we look at players who have looked again vanilla, right? Now we went from was it piss and vinegar, or what did Brad Chile? Oh, that snot. I mean the snot.
Oh yeah, snot. Yeah, piss and vinegar and snot.
Yeah, we're now on to vanilla. That's the new buzzword with this Leafs team, and there's just far too many players that have been vanilla, and they're being featured. That's the thing. I was reading. I can't remember who I was reading. Like, Craig Berube is supposed to be this no-nonsense, old school type of coach.
Yeah.
Old school type of coaches don't consistently troll out, as you said, a Max Domi and Calle Jarnkrok in a top 6 role when they're playing outside of what you are expecting them to do in your system.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
It's something. And it's not even like we're talking about net ratings. So that's not even having to do with their market values, which is a bit of a different conversation, but like quite literally. And I don't know if you're familiar with that analytic, that statistic of offensive rating and defensive rating that Dom Lucian has, but here's a quick definition. Offensive rating, a weighted combination of goals, primary assists, secondary assists, individual expected goals, faceoffs, penalties drawn, expected goals for impact at 5-on-5, goals for impact at 5-on-5, power play goal impact, and usage. That's the offensive rating. So it's kind of everything in terms of the expected numbers and the actual numbers, and it's all put together and spits out a rating. And then defensively, it's very similar, a weighted combination of block shots, faceoffs, penalties taken, expected goals against, impact at 5-on-5, goals against, impact at 5-on-5, and penalty kill impact and usage. So it's very similar defensively. And again, you look at Max Domi, you look at Calle Jarnkrok, and these are two players who have the worst defensive ratings on the team in terms of forwards, and both also, negatively impacting the team offensively as well. Only Dakota Joshua have a worse offensive rating. Actually, Dakota Joshua and Bobby McMahon, his offensive rating, -1.9. Not much happening when Bobby Mack is on the ice as well. Why these guys are in a top 6 role tonight, on a line together, Calle Jarnkrok, Max Domi, and then who else is with them? Nick Robertson. It's going to be an interesting line. It's going to be an interesting line to see how they perform against a pretty decent Columbus Blue Jackets team. All right, Dave, let's take a break. Let's come back and let's dig into tonight's game. Leafs Jackets. Is it must win for Toronto? We'll ask that question next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401k, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's helped me keep organized with all the different accounts. The last thing you want is have spreadsheets, all these different apps, and then you may lose something, or you want to keep better track of what's going on, and that's what Monarch allows you to do. And you can review everything with your partner, see your shared goals, and make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money is going and how to make it work harder for you. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKDOWNNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKDOWNNHL for half off your first year. Today's show is also brought to you by Doer. I'm so excited about these new Doer jeans that I've been trying on. And honestly, the style and the comfort are great. I'm wearing the Performance Denim Slim Straight, and I just can't get over how comfortable they are. These Doer jeans have 5 times the strength of traditional denim. They're antibacterial, meaning your jeans stay fresh longer so you can wear them more and wash them less. And they're made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. It keeps you cool and comfortable as temperature change. Doer jeans feel stretchy without looking stretchy. I don't feel, the tear in the thighs anymore. And, it's almost like you're wearing your favorite pair of synthetic joggers, but they look like you're dressed to go out on the town. Doer combines classic jeanwear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds, and it's designed to look great and stay comfortable all day no matter what you're doing. Doer are pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. So simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. And you can check them out in Toronto. Go to 44 Auston Avenue to check out their store, and you can pick up a pair for yourself, or you can get them as an amazing holiday gift. Mention our promo code LOCKEDONTORONTO in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online, doer.ca/LockedOnToronto for 15% off. That's doer.ca/LockedOnToronto.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and also up on YouTube. So the Maple Leafs back in action tonight after a few nights off, still in last place in the Eastern Conference and trying to desperately climb out of there with a win and a couple of points here tonight in Columbus. Now, Dave, there's a lot going against Toronto, one of which they've been very poor on the road. They've 1-6 on the road so far this year. They've also lost, I think it's 5 of their last 6 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Let me get that stat correctly. Yes, 5 of the last 6 games they've lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And probably the one that's most detrimental, the injuries. So how confident are you in the Leafs tonight?
I don't like their chances against Columbus. Maybe in Columbus, I can't even say in Columbus will be better because it hasn't been. It's been worse.
No, it's been awful. I mean, yeah, it just on the road. It's been even worse than at home, and I mean that's typical, I suppose. But to expect for it to turn around, I think is I don't know. I hope it happens. Now, typically when this Leafs team is doubted is sometimes when they are able to dig deep and find a way to win. Kind of like the game against St. Louis, the one win they've had recently. But the injuries continue to really make it difficult to have faith in this team right now. FanDuel's got them as the underdogs going into into Columbus as the road dogs, which makes sense. But then it even makes more sense when you look at practice from Tuesday, and none of Knies, Matthews, or Wah were taking part in the full practice and line rushes and are still considered day-to-day and game time decisions going into tonight's game. Kind of concerning.
It's concerning, yeah, because like you see that you hear that they're close. Like Craig Berube does not help himself at all with these things. So when you say close, what does that trigger in the minds of everybody? Close means they should be good to go. Give it a little extra time. Then they're there in gray jerseys, meaning they're the extras. And it's like, if they didn't do line rushes today, what are the chances that they're going to all of a sudden be good to go for line rushes in a morning skate on Wednesday?
Very slim.
It's frustrating. It is so frustrating because now I had somebody call me today and says, "Oh, a lot of people are starting to throw out the injury excuse," and I'm like, not really an excuse. It is
No.
They are crushed right now by injuries to key players.
Yes, and it's a big reason. Like on top of Knies, Matthews, Wah, right? You've got Brandon Carlo now hurt. You have Tanev who's hurt. Jake McCabe, is obviously dealing with something. He's skating and he's going to play, but he's not at 100%. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other guys who aren't at 100%. But yes, it's a big reason as to why they're struggling so much right now. They're missing some key pieces, but I think you could also look at them and say, well, when they were all playing together and healthy, they weren't winning a whole lot of games either, or playing to expectation. The chart we just showed looked like a chart, I suppose, and it obviously illustrated that. But yeah, I was listening to Overdrive today, and apparently Darren Dreger said Matthews has been ruled out to play in this game against Columbus. Knies maybe a little bit closer than Matthews, but not expected, I think, to see either of them in this game.
They also have a back-to-back coming up Friday, Saturday. And I think maybe having these guys play 3 games in that short span,
4 nights,
in 4 nights, maybe that's what they're also thinking about. Just give them a little extra time and get them ready for that back-to-back.
Well, so at what point, though, do these injuries really start to concern you, though? Because, Matthews, now I think it's gotten to a point where it's like, okay, he was on IR, he was out for a week, and he's still not good to go. And Matthew Knies also has missed, 3 games in a row now? And still, after with 3 off days in a row, still not good to go. Might need a couple extra days. Like that's what's, ultimately kind of concerning, is that these don't seem like just little bumps and bruises. This might be something that lingers for quite some time here.
Well, especially like the Knies one for me is one where it's like it's just like this is something that he's been dealing with, and it just flared, like it just kind of last second they scratch, like very late they scratched him before the game against St. Louis, and you thought maybe okay, give him a little time to get it back, and it's like guy has been it's nowhere close, and like, so that's been the confusion. Like it's just been no real sense of, and look, I'm not expecting Craig Berube to say, yeah, he has a sprained knee, or, he tweaked something in the groin. Like, I'm not expecting that. But the fact that we don't have any clue of what this is or what's going on with any of these players.
Any of them. Like, it's
none. Like, we have the only obvious one we know is Chris Tanev, because we saw what happened.
Yeah, and even then it was like,
is it a concussion? Is it whiplash? Is it a neck thing? And it's like,
right? It was just kind of like a freak accident, as opposed to like a clean break, where now it's like, well, how long is he going to be out for? We have no idea, no clue whatsoever. So, yeah, that the team is in free fall. They continue to lose. both on the ice and also lose players from their lineup. And it sounds like reinforcements are coming soon. They're close, but close seems to be a very different definition for this Leafs team and Berube than it does for the general public. And again, just to quickly quote Berube earlier today, said, "Got to see where they're at tomorrow," referring to game day. Got to see where they're at tomorrow. It's like, let's be honest, they're not playing. They're in gray sweaters. They didn't skate with the team. They didn't finish practice. They didn't take part in any contact.
I can't wait for I can't wait for him to say close again tomorrow. I just can't wait for that.
Friday, sure, maybe we could see them Friday in night one of that back-to-back and get them ready to go for that. Give them one extra night off, but the Leafs are in must-win, man. Like, they got to win games. They can't afford to give guys an extra night off to rest and recover. They got to get going and got to win. And the lineup that I think the Leafs are putting out there tonight, it's no wonder that FanDuel has them as the underdogs. I mean, like, let's take a look at their lineup, Dave. Let's look at what the Maple Leafs have in terms of the team that'll be icing. They'll be icing for tonight's game. Yeah, John Tavares with Nylander and Easton Cowan as the top line. Second line, Domi, Robertson, and Calle Yarncroc. Dakota Joshua, Jacob Quillen, and Matthias Michelli as your third line. And then Lawton, Lorentz, and McMahon as your fourth line. Riley, OEL as your top pair. Benoit McCabe as your second pair. And Mermis and Troy Stetcher as your third pair. Most likely to see Joseph Woll get the start tonight. But I look at this lineup, and I look at who's not there. Tanev, Carlo, Matthews, Knies, Nicolas Waugh, Anthony Stolarz. It's a lot of star power that's not there for the Maple Leafs tonight. So they're going to be in tough, and they're going to need some guys to step up. The next man mentality has not at all factored in this year for the Maple Leafs. Tonight's got to be one where it has to. Just simply has to, and someone's got to step up, and they got to start putting points up on the board because they're in last place in the Eastern Conference, Dave, and we're a day away from American Thanksgiving. It's way too late into the season to be down at the bottom of the standings for anyone's comfort.
No, it definitely is, right? And you got to at some point show that you're going to be ready to make a move up, right? And like this lineup, you look and it's just
preseason lineup. This is a preseason lineup.
Yeah.
Like I kid you not. I look at this lineup and it reminds me of what we saw in the preseason. Like, and there is no word of a lie. That is what this looks like tonight against Columbus. It's a pretty decent team. They're a pretty good team. They're a good young team. They're a fast team. They can score. They're getting decent goaltending. Like, that's a good club out in Columbus. They've really started to put it together over the last couple of years. Toronto's going to be in tough tonight.
Yeah, no, they're definitely going to be in tough, especially like the last game against Columbus. They were playing pretty good, and then you allow a goal and everything flips, right? And then you're chasing, and you have to push to get yourself back into the game because they were down 2-0 in that game. And if it wasn't for Tavares and Easton Cowan, that game is nowhere close to being, you getting on the better side of it. So you look at this lineup and you're just like, other than that top line, who else is going to step it up?
Yeah, even the top line. I mean, you got 20-year-old Easton Cowan who was in the minors 2 weeks ago, playing on the top line. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds in this game tonight. We'll take one more quick break. We'll come back. We'll take a look at the lineup that Columbus will be icing, our players to watch, and keys to the game. That's coming up next. Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NHL is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Even if you missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel is live bets on everything from who's going to score the next goal to third period comebacks. Plus, You can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game of FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and David Morassutti with you. It's a game day here in Toronto. The Maple Leafs heading over the border, continuing on their road trip, the second game of the road trip, and they're going up against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who defeated Toronto not too long ago, just about a week or so ago, 3-2 in overtime. That game was in Toronto, and that now shifts over to Columbus. And let's take a look at what Columbus will look like tonight, the Columbus lineup for this game. You got Fantilli with Voronkov and Yegor Chinnikov, Sean Monahan, Miles Wood, and Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, Charlie Coyle and Olivier, Zach Aston Reese, Brandon Gauntz, and Isaac Lundestrom as the fourth line, and defensively, Werenski and Provorov, Matejchuk and Severson, and then Christensen and Dante Fabro. Unsure who the starting goaltender is going to be, but both Greaves and Merzlikins have played pretty well between the pipes. So no matter who the goalie is for Columbus, they should be in good shape. Dave, your thoughts on kind of how the Leafs will stack up against this Jackets lineup?
Yeah, I mean, look, it all starts with that Fantilli line, right? They continue to be a real pain for the Leafs.
Yeah.
It's the speed. It's the speed. It's the it's the aggressiveness that they come with that makes it so tough for the Leafs to match up with them. But it also all starts with the blue line for them. Like, the blue line has been a big catalyst into a lot of the things that Columbus wants to do now. I think Werenski left the last game. I don't know if he was good to go.
I saw he's expected to play. Game time decision, but expected to be out there.
Yeah, I think Saravalli said that he was good. I think Evison said he was working through some stuff. So, yeah, I mean, everyone's going through something, but I think it all starts with for the Leafs. And I was looking at some of the NHL Edge data for the Leafs. They spend way too much time in their defensive zone.
Yeah.
So if you want to figure out what exactly Leafs need to do to defend better, start by spending less time in your own zone and more time in the offensive zone. Like, I was reading here that, and this is something that was put on the Athletic, I think they're 27th worst in time on ice in their own zone, in the defensive zone.
Yeah.
They are 29th at 39.4% in offensive zone time at even strength.
Yeah.
That right there is, like, if you want to play better defensively, you need to start spending more time in the offensive zone.
100%. Yeah. Only 39.5% of the game at 5-on-5 they're spending in the offensive zone. The NHL average is 41.1%. So nearly 2% less, or I guess 1.5% less than the NHL average. But yeah, you're right. Ranking 29th in the league in offensive zone time, 27th in defensive zone time. Curious where that stacked up to last year, where it seemed like they spent more time, or maybe 2 years ago we'll look at. Last year, they were 25th, just 40% of offensive zone time, still under Berube. But you go back to when they were with Sheldon Keefe, 41.2% offensive zone time, which is above league average, which was 41.5%. So it's definitely different. You go back to 22-23, 9th in the league in offensive zone time. Keep going back even further, 21-22, the Canadian division year, if I'm not mistaken. Or is that 2021? Either way, 21-22, second in the NHL, 43.4% offensive zone time. And they were also third in the NHL in defensive zone time that year. So it's all fallen since then. Now they're one of the worst teams in offensive zone time. And it's brutal. Absolutely brutal. They got to figure out a way to get the puck out of their zone and get the puck into the opposition's zone and keep it there. That's the thing. It's been so many one and dones. And that was, again, not to go back to Mitch Marner, but he was so good at stealing pucks in the offensive end and keeping plays alive and knocking pucks out of midair to keep possession alive in the offensive zone. He was so good at that. And even just holding possession in the offensive zone, skating around with the puck. That's been a big difference. That's a loss. They haven't found anyone's been able to do that either. And that's been a big problem for this team this year. So that's probably one that you wanna hunker down on, especially in the game tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. All right, player to watch. Who's our least player to watch tonight, Dave? Who do we got?
We got for the Leafs, it's Easton Cowan, the guy who had one of his better games, I think, against Columbus. Showing a bit more of that offensive ability. Obviously, playing with more offensively gifted players helps with that. But it's the drive, it's the engine that he has that this Leafs team is needed. Kind of sad that it's him that's providing that spark, but you're going to take it from one of your top prospects, right? So I do like going into this game. He's got a bit of momentum. Hopefully now he's got to start putting it together offensively a little bit more and putting some of those pucks in the net.
Yeah, he's had a lot of chances. Just one goal so far this year, but certainly he's on the top line. So they're expecting him to produce offensively. So yeah, all eyes on Easton Cowan. Big opportunity playing with Tavares and William Nylander. On the other side of the ice, I mean, it's got to be Adam Fantilli. No, couple goals last time against Toronto. Toronto boy who loves to give it to his old team, or his hometown team rather. And this guy's been on fire. Last 10 games, he's got 7 goals, 11 points over that stretch. He's really starting to figure it out and pick it up in his 3rd season in the NHL. So Adam Fantilli is someone that the Maple Leafs are going to have to be keenly aware of when he's out on the ice tonight.
Yeah, I mean he loves playing against Toronto, and I think when you look at Adam Fantilli, it's just the determination he has to get to the dirty areas, right? And the Leafs are going to have to do a better job of not letting those dirty areas be easy to get to. So it's going to be a tough assignment for whoever has to play against Fantilli, because they won't have the ability to do the matchups that they want. So be very interesting to see how they try to mitigate the Fantilli factor for Columbus.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. We'll see how they're able to stop him and the rest of this lineup. I mean, if you want to throw up the preview, or the team showdown preview, whatever the heck we're calling it these days, the game preview.
The game preview.
There it is, game preview. I don't know why I couldn't find those words here, but you look at this team, Columbus. They're beatable. They're beatable. This isn't a squad that is running rampant on the league. They're a couple games over 500. They're playing at about a 50% expected goal pace, about league average. Not a great power play, not a great penalty kill. They're not scoring crazily high like they were a year ago. And the goaltending, it's been okay. Some games good, some games bad. It's been okay. Little James Reimer, just okay. So it's a beatable team. Now, the Leafs, shorthanded, makes it very tough. But if they can get something cooking on the power play, which I feel like every week we're sitting here saying, now's the time the power play has to get going. Now they got to get cooking. I mean, Columbus, 73% on the PK. Like that is for sure a spot that you got to take advantage of if you're the Maple Leafs. Take advantage of this poor Columbus penalty kill and get yourself, steal an extra goal or two on the power play. That to me has got to be one of the big keys to the game. Got to win the special teams game for the Leafs.
Yeah, you have to find a way to have your power play give you better opportunities, because 5-on-5, they are scoring, but what can help is if your power play comes together. And there's no reason this team, well, there are reasons, but this team's power play should not be at 15.5%. I know last year they went through their struggles, but it's just this wheel of start bad, eventually put it together. It gets a little tiresome with this group. And again, I'm sure Craig Berube has said it all. Keep it simple, get pucks on net, all those things. It's just not clicking with this group right now.
Is it must win, Dave? Is tonight must win for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Must win. I don't know if it's must win, but you it's as close as you're going to get to a must win, just because you got to find momentum. You're starting a road trip. The last thing you want is to have a bad start on your road trip.
Yeah. Well, they're in Montreal, no? The other day, so they're game.
Yeah, but they also went home, had a few days off. This is almost like they're restarting a road trip again.
That's fair. And it's an important trip. It's a very important trip. There's some winnable games here. You got Columbus tonight. Then you got Washington, Pittsburgh. There's some winnable games coming up for the Maple Leafs. So they got Washington, Pittsburgh. Yeah, so some winnable games coming up for the Maple Leafs here. If they can get off on a better foot with a win in Columbus, and get those competitive juices flowing again, get healthy. Right, we're expecting to see a couple of these guys back at least for the weekend, if not tonight, for the weekend. It's an important week. I can tell you that it's an important weekend. It's American Thanksgiving weekend. If they go 0 for 3. Dude, that Monday show, scorched earth. It's going to be a scorched earth type show. I'm telling you right now. If they lose tonight in Columbus and then go into Washington and Pittsburgh and lose there, and Pittsburgh specifically against Kyle Dubas's Pittsburgh Penguins, if that loss happens, oh boy, I think it'll be. I think the Leafs will have to start following suit with the Canucks and put some guys up on the block at that point. But they've got a few games to turn it around before they get to that level of urgency, I guess. We'll see. All starts tonight in Columbus. Any final thoughts?
No. Just hopefully they can find a way to pull out a win, because they just have struggled. They got to find a way, because getting a little tiresome of the good old same old talk with this team. It's getting a little tiresome, and we're only a quarter of the way through.
I know. Still time to turn it around, I guess, if we want to look at it glass half full. All right, that'll do it for us here today in the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs on both Twitter and on Instagram. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to recap Leafs Jackets tonight. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.